When I moved into this neighborhood, I thought the strict HOA rules were just a formality. Everyone warned me that they could be nitpicky, but I figured as long as I kept my house clean and respected my neighbors, there'd be no reason for trouble. I didn't realize how far the board would go until the day they tried to fine me for my trash can. It happened on a Monday morning. I'd just taken my trash out before leaving for work. The garbage truck usually came around 7:15, and I left for the office at 7:30. As always, I brought the can back in as soon as the truck passed. The whole thing took less than 5 minutes. But when I came home that evening, there was an envelope taped to my door. At first, I thought it was a package slip. Instead, it was a violation letter. In bold, block letters it read, "Trash can left in public view, $75 fine." I blinked at the paper, confused. How could they possibly say my trash can was left out? It was out there for 3 minutes. Maybe less. The ink on the violation notice was fresh. Whoever left it had to have been lurking nearby, watching, waiting for me to slip up. I crumpled the letter and stormed inside. Max, my golden retriever, wagged his tail at me, but I couldn't shake the anger. It felt less like a community rule and more like a personal attack. The next day, I marched to the HOA office. Karen, the same smug woman from before, dressed in black as if she were going to a funeral, sat behind the desk with her usual smirk. "I need to dispute this," I said, waving the letter in front of her. "My trash can was out for less than 5 minutes. This fine is insane." Karen tilted her head, feigning sympathy. "The rule states that trash cans cannot be visible from the street outside of collection hours. A board member witnessed yours." "Witnessed?" I repeated. "You mean they sat outside my house and timed me? What kind of neighborhood spy game are you running here?" Her smirk didn't budge. "Rules are rules. If you'd like, you can present your case at the next HOA board meeting. But until then, the fine stands." I walked out of that office fuming. I refused to pay. I wasn't about to hand over $75 because someone on the board decided to play detective. Days later, another envelope appeared. "Failure to pay has resulted in additional penalties. You now owe $150. And then another $300 fine. Final warning before legal action. I could feel the trap closing in again. They weren't just enforcing rules. They were manufacturing violations to squeeze money out of homeowners. This time, I wasn't going to sit quietly. I dug out my security camera footage. Sure enough, I found the exact moment I rolled my trash can back inside, 3 minutes after the truck had passed. I had solid proof that the HOA's claim was bogus. But that wasn't the only thing I discovered. As I reviewed the footage frame by frame, I noticed something chilling. Across the street, parked in a black SUV, was one of the HOA officers. Camera in hand. He had literally been sitting there, waiting, snapping photos of my house like I was some kind of criminal. That was my smoking gun. When the board meeting came, I walked in with a USB drive, a folder of printed still shots, and more determination than ever. The room was filled with neighbors. Karen and her fellow officers sat in a row at the front, black uniforms pressed and smug smiles ready to go. When my turn came, I stood up. My voice shook at first, but then I pressed play on the footage. "Here's the trash truck pulling up at 7:14, I narrated. "Here's me rolling my can back inside at 7:17. 3 minutes. Not 30. Not an hour. 3. The board shifted uncomfortably. But I wasn't done. "And here," I said, clicking to the next still, "is one of your officers parked across the street, camera in hand, waiting to write me up. This isn't about rules. This is about harassment." Gasps rippled through the room. Neighbors whispered to each other. One man in the back muttered, "They did the same thing to me." Karen's face flushed red. "That's standard procedure." "Standard procedure?" I cut her off. "Stalking homeowners in SUVs? Timing us with stopwatches? This is abuse of power, plain and simple." One of the older board members finally spoke up. "I wasn't aware this is how violations were being enforced." His voice was heavy with disapproval. More neighbors chimed in, emboldened. Stories spilled out. People fined for toys left in their yards for 5 minutes. bikes leaning against fences, even one woman who got a violation for leaving her Christmas wreath up a day past the deadline. The room boiled over with frustration. And for the first time, the board wasn't in control. By the end of the night, the fines against me were dismissed. But the bigger shock came a week later. Karen and 2 other officers resigned under pressure. Their sting operation had backfired. I can't explain the relief I felt. But more than that, I felt proud. Because standing up didn't just save me, it forced change. The truth is, HOA boards thrive on silence. They count on fear and intimidation. But the moment one person speaks up, others follow. So if you're ever threatened with a fine over something petty, don't just give in. Document everything. Fight back. Because you might just expose something bigger than you imagined. And if you've ever had an HOA pull something ridiculous on you, you're not alone. That's why I share these stories, so you know you're not crazy and you're not powerless. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with a friend. Because trust me, the next story is even wilder.